Bread is a popular food on many family tables, but have you ever thought about the best way to freeze it? Freezing bread seems simple enough. You put bread in the freezer. Later, you take it out. What could go wrong? A lot, apparently. Yet this everyday practice carries subtleties most people miss, not just affecting taste and texture, but potentially health as well. The freezer has become our modern preservation tool, extending the shelf life of perishables like bread that would otherwise quickly stale or grow mold. But freezing bread isn't just about avoiding waste. It actually transforms the bread's chemistry in ways that can be beneficial when done correctly or problematic when done incorrectly. These mistakes you make when freezing bread wrong way can compromise your health, but there's no need to worry. Today, I'll show you the 7 biggest mistakes that many people make when freezing bread without even imagining the risks they're taking. And of course, I'll share essential tips for you to learn how to freeze this food in the right way. Curious to find out? Stay with us until the end, as the last mistake on the list is the most fatal. But first, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Do you consume bread every day? What's your favorite type? What part of the world are you from? After you've watched the video, drop a comment below so we can get to know each other better. Here are the 7 mistakes most people make when freezing bread and why they matter. Mistake 1. Freezing bread without proper protection. Bread left unprotected in the freezer suffers a process known as freezer burn. Once frozen, the bread quickly loses moisture to produce a dry, crumbly texture. Beyond texture issues, unprotected bread can absorb moisture and odors from other foods in the freezer. This creates an environment where invisible fungi can develop. These fungi can produce mycotoxins that, while not immediately noticeable, may cause digestive problems, trigger allergic reactions, or contribute to chronic inflammation. The bread doesn't merely become unpleasant to eat, it becomes potentially harmful. The fix is simple. Use appropriate freezer packing. Plastic freezer bags, well-sealed plastic wrap, or aluminum foil all work well. For optimal results, use hermetic packaging or a vacuum system to remove excess air before sealing. This prevents ice crystals from forming and damaging the bread's cellular structure. Mistake 2. Freezing bread when it's still warm. Many people make the mistake of freezing bread when it's still warm. This often happens with freshly baked loaves by sandwiching them in plastic wrap before they've had time to cool. This makes hydrogenated water vapor form inside the plastic packaging, which provides an environment perfect for mold growth and its carriers' bacteria development. When warm bread wrapped in plastic starts to release steam, the moisture given off has nowhere to escape. The excess moisture released by freezing and thawing results in a soggy textured loaf of bread, not good to eat in the morning. There are more important consequences that are even direr than this. For all those harmful microorganisms which can thrive parasitically on such saturated food. Before bagging up and freezing bread, always wait until it has cooled to room temperature. Doing this one simple thing guarantees that the bread will maintain its original qualities and a plaque-free fungus environment where molds and mold-friendly temperatures are present. Mistake 3. Freezing entire loaves instead of portions. Instead of freezing a whole loaf, it is a good idea to put away only those slices you will need. Bread can become stale, and flavors are lost if it is repeatedly thawed and refrozen. Each time bread goes through the freeze-thaw cycle, its starch molecules undergo a process called retrogradation that accelerates staling. The bread becomes increasingly dry and loses flavor with each cycle. The temperature fluctuations that result from these freeze-thaw cycles are perfect conditions for bacteria growth. Slice the bread before freezing. Put the slices into separate trays or with pieces of parchment paper between them. This way, you can take out just what you need to use at a time, but keep everything else frozen safely. Waste is minimized, and there's more chance still for high-quality food. Mistake 4. Bread is frozen for too long. Even though freezing makes the shelf life of bread longer, it does not make it unlimited. If a loaf is kept frozen too long, it starts to lose flavor and food value. The structure of the starch continues to slowly change even when in a frozen condition, and oxidation processes are still at work, certainly less than before. Most bread holds up well in your freezer for up to 3 months. After that, taste and texture start to deteriorate. because it's so easy to forget how long you have had different loaves stored without proper labeling. People often wind up eating bread that is suboptimal or potentially stale. Write the date the bread is frozen on each package and try to adopt a first-in, first-out system for your frozen bread. This way, you'll be sure what is within its optimum time period for eating. Mistake 5. Thaw inappropriate methods. The thawing process is just as important as the freezing process. Some people merely put bread out at room temperature for hours before eating it, believing this is the best method. This is really not the best way, for this is the quickest way to turn any sort of bread into a warm breeding center for germs, familiar surroundings for biological chain reactions. Sudden temperature changes cause condensation, leading to a crusty exterior and dry interior. More concerning, the period spent at room temperature, particularly in the temperature danger zone, 40 degrees Fahrenheit, 140 degrees Fahrenheit, or 4 degrees Celsius, 60 degrees Celsius, allows rapid multiplication of any bacteria present. Some safer thawing methods exist as follows. Refrigerator thawing. The safest method is to put frozen bread in the fridge for a few hours or overnight until it thaws out slowly without too much water. Oven warming. For crispier breads, every slice is a new creation. Preheat an oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 180 degrees Celsius, and bake frozen bread for 5–10 minutes until crispy with golden edges. Toaster method for pre-sliced bread. Place frozen bread slices straight into a toaster so that in seconds they are done to be fresh and crunchy. Microwave use should be restricted because it can change the starch framework to give a rubbery texture. If necessary, use it for only 10–15 seconds and eat up your bread at once. Mistake 6. Refreezing previously thawed bread. When bread is thawed out and then refrozen, it can create distinct hazards for human health. When bread thaws, all microorganisms that may have been there start proliferating. Freezing does not kill these microorganisms, but just puts the brakes on their growth for a while. When the bread is refrozen, these recently multiplied populations remain intact and proceed to thrive during the next cycle of being frozen and thawing out all over again. Repeated freezing and thawing provides excellent opportunities for bacteria to grow. Some of these can give food poisoning. The risk is particularly great for those persons vulnerable, such as the aged, young children, the pre-programmed bodily systems of pregnant women, or those whose immunity has been weakened by disease. The rule is simple. After bread has been thawed, eat it immediately or throw it away. Never return such originally frozen bread into the freezer. Before we continue, I've got some exciting news to share. If you enjoy our content and want access to exclusive benefits, become a channel member. As a member, you will unlock some amazing perks like early access to new videos, priority replies to your comments, members-only shorts, polls, quizzes, and special emojis and loyalty badges just for you. Just click the join button and be part of this community that values health and well-being. Your support helps us keep bringing high-quality content for you. Mistake 7. Ignoring signs of contamination. Ignoring obvious mold on bread is maybe the most risky mistake one can do. Some people think the rest is fine to consume when the moldy portion is removed. There could be major medical ramifications from this belief. Mold visible on bread is only the surface manifestation of a more extensive fungal network. Even in cases when no obvious mold shows, the mycotoxins generated by this fungus might contaminate the bread. These poisons are heat-stable, meaning they are not destroyed by heating or toasting. The only safe course of action when bread exhibits any mold is to throw it completely away. There is no safe amount of chopping away or toasting for ingestion. Interestingly, when done correctly, freezing bread doesn't just preserve it. It can actually make it healthier. When bread is frozen, its starch undergoes a retrogradation process that transforms some of it into resistant starch, a type of fiber that the intestine cannot fully absorb. This resistant starch reaches the colon where intestinal bacteria use it as food, generating compounds essential for digestive health, particularly butyrate. This short-chain fatty acid plays an important anti-inflammatory role that contributes to intestinal well-being. To maximize these benefits, choose whole grain bread with higher fiber content to begin with. and follow proper freezing and thawing procedures. The combination of whole grains and the resistant starch formed during freezing creates a doubly beneficial effect on digestive health. Understanding what happens to bread at a molecular level explains why proper freezing matters. Bread consists primarily of starch. About 80% of wheat flour is starch. When bread freezes, water molecules form ice crystals that can rupture the starch granules. With proper packaging and freezing techniques, these ice crystals remain small and cause minimal damage. Without protection, large ice crystals form, destroying the bread structure and creating the dry, crumbly texture associated with freezer burn. The science of freezing bread illustrates a broader point about food preservation. Seemingly simple processes often involve complex chemical changes that affect both food quality and safety. What looks like mere staleness or texture change can actually signal chemical transformations that impact nutritional value and safety. Freezing bread properly isn't complicated once you understand these principles. Proper cooling, packaging, portioning, thawing, and attention to storage times create not just better-tasting bread, but potentially healthier and safer bread as well. The next time you put bread in your freezer, remember that you're not just preventing waste, you're engaging in a process of food transformation that, done correctly, improves both the longevity and quality of one of humanity's oldest and most essential foods. Have you ever made any of these mistakes when freezing bread? Share your experiences in the comments. If you found this video helpful, please type yes in the comments below. I also encourage you to check out these two videos we selected especially for you. Thanks for watching.